Hey folks, I'm Tom Vasel and welcome to the Dice Tower. Sometimes when you see a game, you know it's not going to be very good. This is Spots. Now I love dogs, not particularly Dalmatians because they're not particularly friendly dogs, but they look cool. But it's just spotted dogs, doesn't have to be a Dalmatian. But you're putting dice on the dogs to fill in the spots. And I thought, and it kind of looks like a kid's game. So maybe that's who it's for. Let's take a look at how it plays. In this game, each player is going to get a backyard here. You're going to draw a couple dogs from the dog deck. Now, every dog in this dog deck, this is the completed dog. There's Bongo. But you see, to finish Bongo, you need a 1 and a 3 die. Sometimes they're together. Doesn't really matter if there's 3 dogs or not. Here's Rogue, who's digging a pile of dirt, which also has spots on it. And then look at Bert. He's just a single die here. A 1 die. So you're going to get a couple dogs, you're going to get a treat, and then you're going to put 6 of these out here. Now I'm showing you the 6 that you use in your first game, and there's some that you'll use in every game. For example, you will always use the roll over and the howl in every game. But the other ones you're just replacing. There's a ton of different ones here. We'll talk about that in a bit. So on a player's turn, you are either going to do a trick or you're going to score your dogs. Now you can't score your dogs unless you have a die that's face up in each one. If you do, I can be like, I'm scoring this dog, I'll turn it over, and that dog is now scored and it's safe. But you're usually going to do a trick. So maybe I'll walk the dog. So I'm going to flip this over and then do everything it says. So for example, walk the dog, it says roll 2 dice. Can I place these dice on my dogs? Well, I can place this 4 here. I cannot place this 1 anywhere, so that 1 is going to have to go in my backyard. The more dice you roll, the more chances you have of putting dice on your dogs, but you also have the more chance of putting dice in your backyard. And if the spots on your dice in your backyard ever exceed 7, you bust. When you bust, all your dice are removed, and you kind of start over. So you have to be careful. Like I picked walk, but I could have picked run, which would have let me roll 3 dice, but then the chance of this busting might have been higher. You can always spend a treat if you have one to re-roll all your dice that you've rolled. Now walk here also says I may also roll another die, so why not do that? Let's see what happens. I get a 4. I can't place that 4 anywhere. Oh, I'm gonna bust. Well, I'll spend my re-roll token because I don't want to bust. Now I rolled a 2 and I put the 2 there. So that's my turn. If you bust, your turn instantly ends. So these ones out here, like for example, this one says if you have fewer than 6 dog cards, draw the top card, add it to your pack, although you're only ever going to have 6 dogs total. The run lets you roll 3 dice, and then after that you can keep rolling a die as many times as you want. Of course, realizing you can bust at any time. The fetch lets you roll 8 dice. You pick a number that you rolled and you place or bury all the dice of that number, discarding the rest. The roll over is useful because that one lets you take your buried dice and roll them, and then you can place or bury them. I rolled double 6s here, that wouldn't be good. And then you can re-roll a die, and the bag gives you another treat, and then gives you another treat for each paw that's showing on your dogs. Some dogs have paws on them, usually they take more dice, and some special abilities have to do with these paws. And like I said, there's all kinds of special abilities that could be in here. Like for each paw on your dogs, you can raise or lower any player's buried die by 1. Play dead, roll a die. If you bury the die without busting, take 1 treat for each spot showing on the die. So there's a lot of interesting things that you can do with these cards. Now once you turn that card over, no one else can pick it. But when all the cards, except 1, are turned over, that one gets a treat put on it, which goes to the next person, and then they're flipped face up again. This will continue until one player has all 6 dogs finished. The first person to get all 6 dogs finished is the winner of the game. That's basically it. I have to say, I was really surprised by this one. I don't often get caught off guard by a game being really interesting. Now, I mean, this game is still a very light game. You're rolling dice, and sometimes the dice don't go your way. But it uses a lot of mechanisms I like. First of all, I like that there's 6 different things out there for you to pick from. Now, it's going to go down to 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, but then back up to 6. So there's always interesting decisions. So like the run versus walk. I'd rather do the walk because it's fewer dice. I don't bust. But I might want to run because I have a lot of open positions on my dogs. And I find that like the one card that lets you roll the dice in your yard and re-roll them. Stuff like that. And the treats, the re-rolling of the treats. You still have the, woo, I hope I get lucky, and sometimes you get lucky. And the game does slog a bit when you're down to your last dog, because many times then it is luck. But I'll tell you, there's so many interesting cards. Like the one where you roll 8 dice and you keep all of one number. You're like, well, I only have 1 die left. It's the last die to win the game. It's a 4. I'm going to roll all these dice. I got a 4, but I also got 2 other 4s, which is going to bust me. But what's the chance of getting 3 4s? This is when you use your re-roll. Re-roll them all. I only got 2 4s. Great. 1 4 doesn't bust me. The other 4 here, I've won. It's not a long game. I love the art on the dogs. It's really grown on me, and the cover has grown on me too. It's a game that does play well with kids. It's a game that plays well with other people. Again, I don't want to make this game sound like the greatest game ever. It's just a solid, filler, fun style game that I was really amused by. If you like games where you roll dice and place them out on the board, there's a lot of games that do that in a very basic way. This seems to elevate it, and the replayability, since there are so many different tiles to put out there, and the tiles are good quality, the dice look good. It's a good product. This is a game that I would like to see maybe even hit the mass market for people to play. So that's Spots. You know, sometimes when you see a game, you know it's not going to be a very good game. But sometimes you're wrong about that. I'm glad to be wrong here. Spots. 7 out of 10. Check it out. I'm Tom Vasel, and you're watching The Dice Tower.